Welcome to the What's in Store podcast from IDDBA.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the IDDBA What's in Store podcast. I'm Whitney Atkins, Vice President of Marketing and Membership for the association, and it's really good and great to be back after the holiday that we just had, and I'm excited today to be joined by our IDDBA's President and CEO, David Haaf. We're going to talk today about some trends in the industry, what we're seeing for the association, and really as we go forward, how we continue to connect our buyers and sellers throughout our industry and our categories. So welcome, David.
Well, good morning, Whitney, and thanks for inviting me on the podcast. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so we're going to jump right in because we have a lot to talk about today, especially as we round out this year and look forward to 2025 and beyond. So as you know, we've really closing out IDDBA's 60th anniversary. We've had a great fun time celebrating all the things of our past and all the things that we're going to do beyond in our future for IDDBA. So, David, a couple of things I want to ask you about. You know, as we look at whether it's show surveys, whether we look at consumer behavior, whether we look at what our members as far as retailers want and manufacturers, one word that always comes to the top is new. So, you know, we want to see what's new in our year-round education connections, as well as really our main event, and that's where all of our work culminates, and that's at the IDDBA show this year at 2025, which will be in New Orleans. So can you talk a little bit about how we're working to evolve the show to really meet the needs of our members, our exhibitors, and, of course, our industry?
Absolutely, and I'd be remiss without saying it has been a fantastic 60th anniversary this year. With the sellout show, speaking thereof, a sellout show and membership growth where it's at and the engagement we're seeing, not only from our members but our industry in general is great. And I mean, that's a perfect segue into your question is for us, it's all about how are we going to stand in the future with our members and with our industry. I think it's very clear that our industry is continually evolving, coming out of the pandemic and the needs that are out there. And so that's a big challenge for us and our organization is how do we support our membership and our industry with that. No secret, our show and convention is the big magnitude of what our members look forward to each year. And so part of our challenge is how do we keep the relevance in that show and continue to bring value to our show and our convention for our attendees. And a lot of that goes back to what's important to the attendees and really understanding who are our attendees as we move forward. You know, one of the biggest opportunities out there in the industry, regardless of whether it's the suppliers, the retailers, the importer, exporters, brokers, everybody has been challenged with turnover, right? And it's the number one opportunity out there. And with turnover means that's been also at leadership and C-suite level. And so we know that the category managers, the buyers, the decision makers, there's a lot of new out there. And so I think staying relevant and keeping our show relevant, both with new exhibitors, whether that's the venue and the things that we're bringing to the show, to keep those new leadership out there. Next gen is a big piece of that. How do we incorporate more next-gen offerings and opportunities to network and connect with other leaders out there is going to be very important and significant with that piece of it for our show. You know, I think there's a lot of things we'll continue to focus on, but making sure the speakers and general sessions are relevant to the questions and the wants. We know our What's in Store venue and our What's in Store live piece has always been a key piece of our show. I think that will continue to be a key piece and focus, but making sure that that in itself is staying relevant for the attendees and who's participating in that. And I have to say, one of our big focuses is making sure we're bringing the eye back into the IDDBA, and that's international. You know, last year, well over 24% of our show floor was actually international. That's something that our attendees are looking for, some of those new products, what's going on in the European market. And so we'll continue to focus on that and continue to bring that piece into our show as well.
You talk about the show, and what I sat here and thought about while you were talking, David, is, you know, if you look at it from a retail perspective, and you and I both came from a long retail careers, and it's kind of, our show is kind of like a big grand opening day, right, for a store. And it's so much about the experience and how you can engage those senses. And really, again, that experience. And that's what our show is. It brings it all together from the smells, and you see the beautiful food, you taste the beautiful food, you make those connections, and a big part of that is you see what's new, whether it's in what's in store live or just our new product showcase, our new exhibitor section, or of course just walking the floor where we'll have over 600 different exhibitors there showcasing new products, new brands, new launches, what's trending. But that kind of leads me to my next question, and you mentioned extending the impact of our show and our association, right? You talked about some of the challenges we see at retail across industries. And so I think there's some work being done here at the association as we look ahead into how do we support extending the impact to trying to really address some of the labor issues or some of the challenges that are commonalities across a retailer or across manufacturer, depending on, doesn't matter what size of the company. Again, if you're a retailer or manufacturer, it's all about some of the same challenges. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how you see going forward we can extend our impact and really lead us in the future.
Absolutely, and perfect analogy, by the way, on the new store grand opening. That is an exemplary impact as to what our show is. So, I think when you look at extending the impact, I go back to the turnover, and along with turnover comes a lot of new leadership, new category managers, new buyers, new C-suite, quite honestly. And so that means professional development. And that's one of the areas, I believe, in our organization that we've always continued to remain true to, and that's in the education and industry relations. So professional development has always been important, and we do understand that a number of our members have pieces in play for that, but I think it's happening so constant and so quick, and I would use the word vast and diverse, that I think we've got to work on expanding our portfolio. And by that, I mean we've got some great programs that we do today, whether it's our UW Leadership Program based here in Madison, whether it's our job skills, supporting job aids piece of it. But I think we really need to make sure, as we look to meet our members where they're at, how are they looking for that information? So I think some of that could be online, learn as you go, a computer-based training. I think some of that could be in-person training opportunities, and I believe some of that could be partnering with great organizations that specialize in specific things, whether it's the leadership itself. Just recently talked to the Dale Carnegie Group. That's been a long-time organization that thrives in growing and helping with professional development and people skills and customer service is one example. So that's part of the thing we're going to look at. I think to do that, the other thing is understanding that this is going to require some collaboration. And by collaboration, not just with our members or industry-specific professionals, but also collaboration with other organizations that are all supporting our industry in different facets. And so I think I've already begun some of that by getting to know some of my counterparts in other organizations, but understanding what each organization does well and how can we feed off of each other to help support our evolution and our needs within our industry is going to be very important in extending our impact.
Never in my time in my career have I seen organizations want to work together to really strengthen our industry, strengthen the growth of our industry, and the bounce back like we've seen since COVID. And I know our education team is doing a great job really working with some different associations to help spread that education and that training and that personal development and professional development that you just mentioned. And, I was reading, because professional development is so important, some things that people expect, and we talked about labor. So people, as they join an organization, they want to be sure they have a path for personal and professional development.
Absolutely.
You'll often see that they'll leave because of that if there are no outlets for that, right? They expect that. That's one of the things that both our our retail members, our manufacturing members, and our membership as a whole can really take advantage of some of those professional resources that we have. I mean, you talked about how, hey, there's so many new people coming into the industry and next gen. How do we help educate them? Well, David, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about a couple of IDDBA resources here that we offer our members. You look at those data points. We have huge data partnerships with folks like NIQ, Circana, Euromonitor. So you can access those resources as an IDDBA member. And, that really brings in international data. We talked about the I in IDDBA,
Yep.
and that helps us understand what is trending from, I think, 17 different countries and coming in. And often we see those European countries really set trends for 2 or 3 years in advance. So that's very helpful. Here domestically, we use Circana for a lot of different information. We have monthly category reviews that can be seen and listened to on webinars. And then if you're a member company, you can always access those on demand. So those are huge as you're really trying to teach somebody about the industry and what that looks like and what the trends are. So lots of different information about that. Of course, as a member value, we partner with these groups, and they offer some significant discounts to reports that maybe some of our smaller independent members can take advantage of, or our mid-size members can take advantage of, that may not always have access to those large data companies. One of the other things that you talk to us a lot about here is expanding our audience. And I know we've already done some of that. So talk to me a little bit about how we're expanding the audience, the things that you've already brought on board, and then as we go forward, how we're looking to do that and why we're really looking to expand our audience.
Absolutely, and thank you, Whitney. Yeah, when you talk about expanding your audience, I look at it back in my retail days as how do you expand your customer base? Well, for us, it's how do we touch more of our industry? And no question, one of the biggest opportunities for our organization as well as our industry is consolidation. I mean, it's a fact of life. It's happening weekly, monthly in our industry where the larger companies are buying up smaller companies. And quite frankly, that's on the manufacturer-supplier side as well as the retail side. And so as we look as an organization to grow and help our membership grow, we have to say, how do we expand our audience? And a couple examples I would probably give you is the convenience store channel is thriving in our categories. When you talk about value-added dairy, deli, bakery, and I would add the word food service, to that, they actually thrived through the pandemic because of the nature of the clientele and the quick grab and go. And there are some great convenience store channels out there. And yes, they have some connections when it comes to food service and food companies. But I think what we're finding is more and more those food service directors at those convenience store channels are turning to us to learn more and expand more on product lines and industry knowledge. And so I think you'll find us spending more time focusing on how do we grow that convenience store channel. I think when you look at colleges and universities, again, they have supporting arms to help them with their dining services, but they too are growing into a huge arm of the food service and a lot of our category growth. When you go on campus dining and look at the magnitude of what these food service institutions are, I certainly can speak honestly on that from my Virginia Tech University days as a chef there. It is growing into a huge piece of the experience for the colleges and universities, and so many of our member companies in our industry touch that piece of it. So I think when you look at that, those are two key areas of focus for expanding our audience. I also look at just food service in general. I think I'm finding that there's still a lot of opportunity within our industry that folks tend to look at us as being specific to deli and bakery and traditional meats and cheeses. And I can tell you, coming fresh out of retail, that so many of our deli bakeries are true food service destinations. And so I think there's opportunities to expand our audience both on our supplier side as well as helping them understand with our retailers that there's so much more to a lot of the deli bakeries today than just the traditional deli meats, cheeses, grab some fried chicken. They are true food service destinations. So I think we'll spend some more time as we work to expand that audience and making sure that the right players in our industry understand that our members, particularly our retail members, and quite frankly, a lot of our suppliers are true food service destinations in those categories.
Absolutely, Dave. And that just speaks to some of the change in the industry that we've talked about throughout today's podcast. And I think that's a great extension of just showing how things are changing and continue to evolve. We continue to support mission and vision of connecting buyers and sellers, right?
Yep.
And expanding those audiences in a different way. If you look at a C-store today, that's really where our younger generations are buying groceries.
Absolutely.
Like I have an 18-year-old, and I will tell you, they'll go buy their meal at a local C-store here in the Midwest, right? So that's how they buy groceries. That's what they're used to. They'll go in and buy a meal from there. So absolutely one to focus on, but we also offer those benefits back and forth, right, to the C-store as well as to those serving the retail. We talked a lot about training and trends, and that's another one that you'll find as we go. Our Vice President of Education and Industry Relations, Heather Prock, for the last couple of years have really worked on defining 5 guiding trends of where we see our industry going. But she's really matured those and grown on those each year. And I would be remiss if I didn't say I'm excited to say we'll announce those again, IDDBA's guiding trends, on December 31st, and you'll see how we talk about not only consumer trends, but also trends with labor, trends with flavors, exactly what our consumers are looking for going forward to help make decisions in the next coming year. So we look forward to that as well. You know, David, as we round up, we've talked a lot about our outlook for the future, how you see the industry moving. And I want to end today by giving you the opportunity to talk about any trends or any hot buttons you see coming along that really will lead us into 2025 that our members should be focused on.
Yeah, it's just a few weeks away, and I know Heather and the team's been working hard and are excited to launch that out to the community of the IDDBA and our industry. And, you know, there's a lot of them out there, but I think one thing that sticks out that I covered in a presentation a few weeks ago that people don't think about is with the pandemic, everybody stayed at home, and what did they watch? The Food Network, right? Or they watched all these great cooking shows off of the Food Network and these chefs from around the world. And so they actually started experimenting. They got bored eating the same old in their house. So when they did go to the grocery store, they were starting to explore into different areas and categories, whether it was specialty cheese or unique flavor profiles. And I think what we're finding post-pandemic is that they're now in tune with that and exploring their food options into food. I call it food explosions, if you will. And they're getting more experimental at the grocery store. They're looking for more of those unique flavor profiles and cooking preparations, whether that's ethnicity, whether that's particular flavor profiles. You know, the hot and honey is big right now in many different pieces of our category. But I think what that does is it opens it up to our retailers, to our members, and to our suppliers that are selling things, is don't be afraid to think outside the box. Give our customer base some credit that they're actually a little bit inventive and exploratory and looking to try some new and exciting flavors. And the restaurant, as it grows, is showing that in their numbers from the NRA, that a lot of the ethnic restaurants are seeing the biggest growth because our consumer base, I don't want to say is bored, but they're looking for something new and got tired of eating the same thing every day back at the house.
And you know, David, that's so true, especially if you think about kind of some of the things that grew from those times that you're talking about in those couple of years. Charcuterie, and then it was butter boards, and then it's dessert boards. And think of all the trends, and think of how our retail stores and even those convenience store formats that we talked about are reacting to that. Now you can go in a store and see a charcuterie kit. You see education. You see what pairs well. But it also allows people to be creative. So great points on that. Great examples.
Chocolate-covered bacon.
We were just talking about chocolate-covered bacon, and
Yep.
I think you'll see that come about more in this year. But also some of the traditional things that grocery stores are known for. We're known for convenience, a convenience store, that quick grab and go. You'll continue to see that because our consumers are shopping that way. They're coming, they're looking for that, and they're also looking for that quick meal solution we see now more than ever because they did get used to those family meals at home during the pandemic and those times, and now work from home, and how can I have a hot meal for my family with all the busy times? but yet still be able to spend those extra times, to spend that time at practice or soccer practice, well, maybe this time of year, hockey practice, those different types of things. So certainly impact. So I really want to thank you for your time today, David. We look forward to hearing more about insights on some upcoming podcasts, actually, I think in January, right after our launch of the What's in Store Trends. Heather Prock will be on to discuss those in details and really help you understand how you can use those to build your business, to train employees, and to really learn what's coming. So, but in the meantime, don't forget, you can certainly go and register for our show starting in January. IDDBA 2025 will be in New Orleans from June 1st through the 3rd. Again, registration will open up mid-January, so mark your calendars. As you come back from your holiday breaks, you'll want to get right on that so that we can all see you and really connect you with your buyers and sellers in New Orleans. So again, thank you, friends, for joining us. And until next time, have a great December.